Hey everyone! So before I start, I just like to say that I'm not a professional artist. So what I will be saying next are all based on what works best for me, and also based on what other artists have said. So let's start. At the beginning of creating a character design, what I usually do is I like to think about the background and personality of the character. So both of these things correlate together. Like both of these things affect each other. So you know that nature and nurture thing. So when you design a character, you got to think about both, like what kind of environment this character lives in, and also what type of personality this character already has or will be having after going through some sort of event, or maybe like the environment caused the personality of this character to change. I usually like to do is I like to think about the background and personality first. So where is this character from? Is the character from a city? Is the character from a rural village? So when you choose a background, what I usually do is I like to go online and do some research on these types of backgrounds, like look at some pictures, read some articles about it. Like for example, if I'm creating a character that's from China, so like what kind of clothing will this character wear? What kind of values will this character have? Different values will affect the personality of the character and also the decisions the character will make if you have a story. So when you design something, always use references. Like references are really important if you want to make something look more realistic. So next, when it comes to personality, after you've chosen a personality, like maybe is this character depressed, outgoing, or mysterious? So all of these things are going to affect what clothing the character is going to wear, what makeup the character is going to wear, what hair, facial expression and posture the character is going to have. So for example, if the character is always really depressed, then the character may have a very slouched over body posture, and the facial expression of the character will a lot of the times be very gloomy, like with droopy eyes and maybe a pouting mouth, whatever. Personality affects the clothing they decide to wear as well. So for example, like back to the really depressed character, if this character is really depressed, will this character be always wearing really dark colored clothing? I mean, when you think about a character, you got to think about what makes sense, because for example, if this character is always very depressed, then it wouldn't make as much sense if the character were to wear like bright neon colors and having bright color hair. But it also depends on the context. When you design a character, you want to make sure the audience, like the viewers, can see what type of character it is and like kind of guess what kind of background this character is from. So I'm going to use my own character as an example. So this is a girl, she's Chinese, and she was originally from a rural village in China. Her real name is Shui Yun, but after she found a magical talisman, she started performing magic with her huge paintbrush. And so now her stage name is Lotus. So basically, the theme I have for this character is a lotus flower. So another thing when you design characters is like, if for example, for my character, her main theme is a lotus flower. So in China, lotus flowers symbolize rebirth. So basically what this character does is she brings old paintings back to life. So she literally repaints old classic Chinese paintings, and then she uses her big brush to repaint these paintings on her huge scroll. And then all of a sudden, these paintings will literally come to life and float and bounce in the air, whatever. So when you create a character, you want to have a theme. Like you want to have things that correlate with each other. Like you don't want to have something that just out of the blue appears. This character's stage name is Lotus for a reason, because of like the things she does, the things she performs on stage, and also her logo is kind of like a lotus flower. So basically, it's a paintbrush it's a paintbrush that's shaped like a lotus flower with green leaves at the bottom. That's her logo. So yeah, this character, like Lotus, is a very mysterious character, or at least that's what I'm trying to go for, because people don't know where she got her magical abilities from. So because she's a really mysterious character, the way I designed her it was to wear a hat with these curtain-like things, like just fabric down the hat that covers part of her face, and I think that adds a lot to the mysterious feeling of this character. And also the hat, like the clothing that she's wearing is also based off traditional Chinese clothing. Like for example, the dress, the dress, and also the colors are like red. I used a lot of red and white in here, which are a lot of classic colors used in traditional Chinese clothing. So she has like that really wide sleeves on her dress, and also she has like a ribbon on her chest, which is also like something really common and found in Chinese clothing. And the brush she uses is also like a traditional Chinese brush used in Chinese painting. In this drawing, I also put a few references to some, I guess, pretty famous Chinese paintings. So for example, the horse on the right side corner of this drawing. So this was basically directly copied from a painting called 8 Horses Take Off, which is, I think, a pretty classic Chinese painting. At the bottom, she's standing on top of a lotus flower on her stage. So yeah, that's another thing I added to her character design. And also, this is not exactly related to the character itself, but like also the way I designed the stage is it's related to the character. So for example, like if you can see at the back, like at the back, there's a wooden frame, and on top are a bunch of lotus patterns. Well, I mean, because in the story, this character becomes really famous eventually because of her really magical performances. So eventually she gets her own stage where she can perform there. So yeah, like at the back there's a banner that says lianhua, like lotus flower in Chinese, and also there's a Chinese painting at the back. You know, so on the wooden frames there's a bunch of lotus flowers carved onto it. So there's like a constant reoccurring theme of lotus flowers in here. And yeah, because she's also a very magical character, she has, like, because she found a talisman, it granted her a lot of magical abilities. I decided to add some sparkle-like things, but they're not exactly like the typical sparkle effects you see in drawings, like, you know, the rhombus, the star-shaped kind of thing. Instead of having these star-shaped kind of things to represent the sparkle in her magic, I decided to use ink, like the splatter of ink. Like, so you see these tiny little dots are like splattered ink. So yeah, I hope this was helpful, kind of helpful.